Today, we're jumping into one of the most practical leadership stories you'll ever find. It's a story about a leader who is absolutely on the verge of collapse, and this wise consultant who shows up in the middle of the desert with a plan that literally changes everything. This isn't just some ancient tale, it's a blueprint for how to lead without burning out, and it all kicks off with one single, powerful conversation.
So that's the big question, right? What can we learn here? I mean, we've all been there, that feeling of being completely overwhelmed, where the work just never ever stops. What's so amazing is that one of the best roadmaps for escaping that cycle doesn't come from a modern business book, but from this ancient meeting in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story starts at the foot of a holy mountain. Moses, who's just pulled off this incredible liberation of an entire nation, is camped out in the wilderness. The dust is settling, and then a small group appears on the horizon. This is a reunion that's been years in the making. Let's walk through this moment by moment. So verse 1 tells us that the news of the Exodus has spread far and wide. You can just picture Jethro, a priest in Midian, hearing these wild stories and thinking, I have got to see this for myself. Then, in verses 2 and 3, we see he's not coming alone. He brings Moses' family back to him, his wife Zipporah and their son Gershom. That name actually means stranger, which was a constant reminder for Moses of his time in exile. And then verse 4, he brings their other son, Eleazar, whose name means God is my help, a perfect symbol of how he was saved from Pharaoh. Two sons, two totally different chapters of his life right there. Now the interaction here is just fascinating. Verse 5 says Jethro shows up right at the mountain of God. Then in verse 6, a messenger runs ahead saying, hey, your father-in-law Jethro's coming. And then you get this key moment in verse 7. Moses, the leader of hundreds of thousands of people, doesn't make Jethro come to him. No, he goes out to meet him, and in this incredible show of respect, he bows to the ground before his elder. This isn't just a simple hello, it's a huge display of humility from the guy at the very top. So they go inside the tent, and the story just pours out of Moses. In verse 8, you can almost see him, his eyes wide, reliving every single moment. The plagues, standing up to Pharaoh, the Red Sea crashing down. He's basically giving this first-hand report of miracle after miracle. And then in verse 9, you just see Jethro leaning in, his face going from just curious to pure, shining joy. He is completely blown away by how good God has been. And that leads us to Jethro's huge declaration in verse 10. Hearing the story from Moses himself just solidifies everything. He looks up, his voice just full of awe, and he blesses God. This isn't some polite gesture, it's a real, heartfelt confession of faith, all based on the proof he just heard with his own ears. And this whole experience just builds to this moment. In verse 11, Jethro lays it all out. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all the gods. Then, in verse 12, he puts his money where his mouth is. He offers a sacrifice. And then something really beautiful happens. Aaron and all the elders come and join them. It's this sacred meal, a moment where they all worship together, sealing this family reunion with a divine purpose. The reunion is amazing, the celebration is wonderful, but the very next day, the harsh reality of leadership comes crashing down. And Jethro, the wise observer, is about to see a system that is completely on the verge of breaking. Verse 13 paints this incredibly clear and honestly painful picture. The sun comes up and Moses takes his seat. And then this line of people forms, a line that stretches back as far as you can see. And he just sits there all day under that desert sun, judging one case after another from morning until evening. You can almost feel the exhaustion just by reading it. Well, Jethro sees this, and in verse 14, he does not hold back. You can hear the alarm in his voice. What is this you are doing? It's a consultant's question. It's sharp, it's direct, and it goes right to the heart of a broken system. He doesn't just see something that's inefficient. He sees a leader who is the single point of failure for an entire nation. Now, Moses' answer in verses 15 and 16 is totally understandable. I mean, he sees what he's doing as noble, as essential. He says, they come to me to inquire of God. His intentions are perfect. He's doing God's work, no doubt. But the reality is what you see right here, a leader with a good heart who is literally drowning in the demands of his people. Jethro's reply in verses 17 and 18 is brutally honest. He just says, what you're doing is not good. And he lays out the two futures we see here. Path 1, a burnt-out leader and a bunch of frustrated people. Or path 2, a leader who can actually last and a community that is at peace. And the key thing is, this isn't just about Moses feeling better. It's about the health of the entire nation.
But Jethro doesn't just point out the problem and walk away. Nope, he comes with a solution. And it happens to be one of the greatest organizational restructuring plans in history. So in verses 19 and 20, Jethro basically rewrites Moses' entire job description. He says, listen, your main job is not to judge every little argument. Your job is to represent the people to God and, this is huge, to teach them the system. The goal isn't for you to solve every problem, but to empower the people to live well on their own. Verses 21 and 22 lay out the genius of this plan. It's all about delegation and scalability. Step 1. Find capable, God-fearing people who hate corruption. Character is everything. Then, steps 2, 3, and 4 create the actual system. Build a hierarchy, give them the power to handle all the small stuff, and only bring the really big, tough cases to you. And here's what that structure looks like, from the top down. First, you've got your rulers of thousands. Think of them like your senior VPs with major oversight. Then, you push that authority down to rulers of hundreds. These are like your regional managers, making the whole system much more responsive. Then it gets even more local, with rulers of 50s, bringing the decision-making even closer to the people. And at the very foundation, you've got rulers of tens. These are your frontline team leads, the first and, for most people, the only point of contact for everyday issues. Suddenly, justice isn't a bottleneck anymore. It's available to everyone. Verse 23 just wraps it all up with this incredible double benefit. First, sustainability for the leader. You will be able to endure. Burnout is off the table. Second, satisfaction for the community. All this people will also go to their place in peace. It is a total win-win. Now, you know, the best advice in the world means nothing if you don't actually follow it. What makes this story so powerful is what Moses does next. He doesn't just listen, he acts. Verse 24 is just a masterclass in humility. So Moses listened to his father-in-law and did all that he had said. And verse 25 shows him taking immediate action. You can just see Moses walking through the camp, spotting these capable men and commissioning them as the new leaders of this brand new, scalable organization. And verse 26 shows us the system working perfectly. The new judges handle all the small matters, which frees up Moses to focus only on those truly hard cases that need his unique wisdom. The bottleneck is gone. The system actually works. And finally, in verse 27, the story comes to a close. Jethro's work is done. You know, like a master consultant who's fixed the broken process, he doesn't need to hang around. He leaves, and behind him is a sustainable structure, a happier community, and a leader who can actually endure the long journey ahead. And that really brings us back to our world, doesn't it? Jethro saw something that Moses couldn't see in himself, that he was on a direct path to burnout. It really makes you wonder, who are the Jethros in our own lives, offering us wisdom we might just be too busy to notice? The real question isn't whether they're out there, but whether, like Moses, we have the humility to stop and actually listen.